Welcome to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast.
Every week, they talk about the Vancouver Canucks with a fair amount of nonsense thrown in.
Sure, they're never the first with the news, nor the best connected, and definitely more off the rails than on.
But they've been talking puck the longest, and that counts for something, right?
So strap in for the longest running, best mediocre Canucks Hockey Podcast.
It's C4 with Chris and Anna.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
I'm okay, Chris. How are you?
Not bad. You know, it's been a pretty boring week since we last spoke.
Yeah, nothing much has happened. I mean, I got on a plane. That's the big news of the week, right?
You did. You're joining me from afar. Like the current view that I have of you is one that is not familiar to me.
Yeah, I am in my mom's house. In Dorset.
Hi, Anna's mom.
Yes, she says hello back. Actually, this time for real.
Good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we mentioned it in the last episode. I don't know if we did. You've gone back home for the holidays. This is sort of what you tend to do this time of year. And I'm thinking it's a missed opportunity. We could have had a guest on the show. We could have had Anna's mom join us.
Yeah. She's actually been, I think we recorded one time when we were both in Lillooet together. So
Okay.
She was in the same room during a recording
Well,
one time before, but yeah.
And she didn't join as a guest that episode?
No, I don't think she'd like it, honestly. She loves meeting people in person, but I think she's a bit shy for a podcast.
Well, yes, you are back home for the holidays. I am at my home. Currently, not yet the holidays, though I'll be seeing my family as well. This is what we all tend to do, around this time of year where we can, is to see friends and family, and in some cases travel just a bit. But yeah, very slow week. Not much happened. Canucks lost a couple of games. Nothing new there.
Yeah, it's just
And then, Friday afternoon rolled around, and what happens on Fridays? That's when the Canucks decide to drop news. All the best news drops Friday afternoon at 4:30. It's like, I think we've talked about it on the show, but for you young folk, the traditional dropping of bad news in North America has always occurred Friday, essentially 4 p.m. onward. The thought process in that, people have started heading home from work. The news cycle is somewhat, run its to its end. It doesn't start up until Monday. People might look at the weekend newspaper and what have you, but that's not the case. Everything's online. Everything's instant now. And the Vancouver Canucks subscribe to the theory that the internet doesn't exist. So.
Yeah, and it's such big news that it just annoyed everyone because everyone has to go back in to work and start working again.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've reached this point and you're like, okay, what the two you were talking about, I had nothing. Quinn Hughes, no longer a Vancouver Canuck. You and I were both resigned to this likely being the case at some point. Did it catch you off guard?
Totally.
That the end of his career was Friday?
Yeah, completely. It's one thing being resigned to it happening, thinking, as we get closer to the trade deadline, thinking we're going to start building up the rumors. And it was a case of, Canucks are open and talking about it. Oh my God, the trade happened. Yeah, I was completely not thinking it would happen this quick.
No, and neither was I. We'll talk about where we were when news broke, and we'll obviously talk a little bit about what happens moving forward. But this episode is going to be unlike no other, because the big news is not to do with the fact that the Vancouver Canucks had 3 games. But not to be lost in all the noise, the Vancouver Golden Knights also had a week off. I mean, I say that in the context of no games, a handful of practices, some players on some, international duty. But there's a little potentially good news coming out of the Pacific Coliseum, or I guess if they practice in the Agrodome, out of the Agrodome. So
it's the same grounds, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Teeny grounds.
Well, we'll talk a little bit of Golden Knights hockey, but for those of you who are expecting a lot of it, we don't got a whole lot, which is actually a good thing. because in the state of, hockey in Vancouver, limited news is good, and not so limited news, not so good. But yeah, I think no sense beating around it. Let's dive into Rewind. So the Vancouver Canucks got things underway in the week by doing what they do best, losing. They lost 4-0 to the Red Wings on Monday. They lost 3-2 to the Buffalo Sabres on Thursday. I, to be honest, found myself confused. But, if you're a Canucks fan, you generally are. They showed up and played what looked to be some good hockey against the Detroit Red Wings, except for, a 10-second burst in the second period, at which point the game, which was within reach, was no longer. And then against the Buffalo Sabres, where you have the need to now get into must-win territory, Thatcher Demko comes, out of the dressing room, into the net, stands on his head for the most part, but yet that's not enough to get the Vancouver Canucks their much-needed win. Sabres winning 3-2. Credit to the Vancouver Canucks for keeping in it. Unfortunately, that power play goal from Zach Benson in the third period was icing on the cake, and the Canucks just could not, generate the greatest opportunity from there. I mean, it should be pointed out that, again, Vancouver played a not so bad game against Buffalo. I mean, it wasn't horrible hockey.
No.
They were generating opportunities. Like in the third period, it truly looked like they wanted to win that game. But suffice to say, Vancouver loses 2. And we're all talking about the tank. Because that's the deal. It's got to be.
And once you lose to Buffalo, I think that's, even though the game wasn't so bad, I think that's a pretty good, solid indication. Okay, let's wrap it up here.
Yep. The, other thing that I took out of the week, and this came out of some post-game conversation against Detroit, was when Quinn Hughes was talking about the team that they were playing was a really, well put together team of young players who rebuilt quickly. And it's like, wait, the captain of your team is giving plaudits to an opposition team who rebuilt quickly, and that's the way to do it? Seems odd. Like, normally, it's not to suggest he shouldn't say it as a good team. They got a bunch of good young players, but actually talking about how they've been structurally put together and the way the organization is doing things, raised a few eyebrows. And I think some equated it to being maybe a shot across the bow here in Vancouver. What we've since learned is, maybe playing into that comment and some previous comments a bit more. But the captain of the Vancouver Canucks is no more. There is no captain. Quinn Hughes was traded to the Minnesota Wild. It was very obvious, I think all week, that Quinn's time in Vancouver was coming to a close. I was talking to some friends here, and I was saying, yeah, this is the way this is looking. Quinn's going to be dealt before the Christmas break, that holiday sort of, no movement period. It just, there's so much smoke. There has to be a deal to be had. Now, I'm not suggesting the deal that had to be had was going to be the best one. You and I will share some thoughts on that. But nonetheless, Minnesota Wild got themselves a heck of a prize in Quinn Hughes by offering up what was considered by very many hockey people to have been the best offer on the market at the time.
Yeah, and it's so hard to say without knowing the ins and outs. Obviously, there was said to be 6 teams seriously interested, one of which was New Jersey, and you have to think they put together a sizable offer. Yeah, I don't know. Could they have got more if they waited another week? Who knows? I think to some extent it was just this is done. Let's just see who has the best offer. It's one of those things where it's you're getting a generational player in Quinn Hughes, but that doesn't mean you'll get a complete haul, because that's just not the way hockey works. You can't give up that many players at once, or picks, or whatever. So Yeah, I think it's hard because the return I feel was always going to be underwhelming because exit stage right is Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, I mean, when I found out, I was here at home, and it was actually a message I got from one of the members of our sort of complex hockey pool.
Oh wow,
and
yeah.
and like it, shared, here's what it sounds like it is. What are your thoughts, guys? And my response was, ugh. And it's not knocking what the Canucks were getting back. So what do the Vancouver Canucks receive from Minnesota? Marco Rossi, Liam Ogren, Zeev Buyum, which I think is how you pronounce it, and a 2026 first round pick. Considering deals of Canucks past, that is actually quite a bit more reasonable than what we've seen when, a player or star player, as we might perceive them, goes the other way. But you've just lost a generational defenseman. And, no matter how you paint, Zeev, and he sounds like he's going to be a pretty solid player, he's not Quinn Hughes. He might become something like Quinn Hughes, but the might become like, and that's the thing I understand. We're not going to get a Quinn Hughes back in return. It just reinforces how badly this organization fumbled a generational talent like they did. And I've lived through that. Like I lived through the era where Pavel Bure wanted out of this town because of reasons. And, Quinn Hughes, as we've now learned, wanted out too. Both situations, organizational fumbles.
Yeah. I mean, big time. That's the thing. There's no way we weren't going to be sad about it when it happened, even if you resigned to it happening, and even if trading him now is the best option, given the circumstances. But the circumstances themselves suck. Like, there's no way around that the organization have messed this up. And there was so many turnaround points, and they took none of them. And, in fact, dug deeper holes, and here we are in this situation. I mean, Marco Rossi is an exciting player. Zeev Buyum, very exciting offensive defenseman, which is good. Ogren, still young, we'll see. Love a pick. Hold on to those damn first round picks with your life.
We'll talk more about that in half full, half empty too.
But yeah.
Yeah, the return, I think you said it well. The return, no matter what it was going to be underwhelming based on what our expectations were when we looked at a player like Quinn Hughes. When the deal went down, we started to also hear some additional scuttlebutt. I think it was Darren Dreger who first shared that Quinn Hughes had informed the Vancouver Canucks a year and a half ago that he didn't want to come back. Then this past weekend, Elliot Friedman added some context to suggest that Quinn Hughes told them around U.S. Thanksgiving he was not going to re-sign in Vancouver. Now, that would describe to me that either sometime recent to sometime long ago, there was obviously conversations that were taking place, but the team understood that they were likely on borrowed time, and then maybe the clarity came at U.S. Thanksgiving around then when Quinn were to tell them, I'm not coming back to Vancouver. And I
do what you need to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually applaud Quinn for doing something like that, giving the team the opportunity to get something for him. I'm glad the team didn't fumble that. But it starts to have me wonder how decisions that they made from whatever point they were informed that Quinn was going to be leaving happened. So you and I had spoken about this last year. We had questioned, who, if Quinn was in charge, would he have kept? Would it have been JT Miller or would it have been Elias Pettersson? And I think you and I both thought he was on Team Petey. It's now come out when Miller was traded. Did not like that. Sounds like he was Team Miller. Whether or not there was a Team Petey and Team Miller to be on, but I presume there was.
Honestly, when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, lost a little bit of respect for you there, because we kind of bigged up the fact that he wasn't necessarily like, I like Pedersen better than I like Miller, but more that he saw that there was an end of the road situation and saw that it was better to back the younger player type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, why? Like, I just think the JT Miller era was over long before the feud with Petey became, got to boiling point.
Yeah.
Like, JT's been checked out of Vancouver for long before that. So it's just like, why were you that intent on keeping JT?
The Drager point of it being a year and a half, that actually has him deciding to leave Vancouver midway through the good season, where, PDO carried them all the way through to the postseason. Now, which is why I kind of look at that and wonder, maybe the timeline doesn't feel right.
That's probably an exact thing. It's more the fact that it happened, maybe he saw the writing on the wall as soon as the next season started. Who knows? But
maybe, but to me, that's where, if there was that issue, that drama, we know there was definitely a problem within the locker room between Miller and Pettersson. I could see that timeline makes sense to me, but Quinn wanted out, informed the team he's gone. It probably explains why, one of the reasons why Rick Tocchet was like, "Peace be with you, Vancouver Canucks. I'm off to Philly." I always believed him that it was at the practice facility in Philadelphia, but you have that. But then, and I say if, that Quinn is going, would you not have gone and tried to shore up your blue line as part of your sort of off season? Instead, they went out and brought in a Kane. This actually has me question that decision even more. And you and I have been questioning why Kane even came here to begin with.
For sure. And it does, underline the point of, were they just on a hope and a prayer that Hughes would change his mind or whatever. But bringing in Pierre Joseph, he seems like a really good culture guy actually, but I don't know about he's old. Sorry, but he's old and he gets injured a lot and struggles to stay in the lineup. I can't read the logic of that as well, given the additional context that Hughes was likely gone.
But,
especially just they didn't think, okay, Hronek needs a new buddy here, especially given how dependent they are on each other, or Hronek on Hughes anyway.
Yeah. So with all of this word trickling out that Quinn had informed the team that he was not coming back, that he was leaving, he had no plan to resign in Vancouver. This then meant that players started getting asked questions about, hey, you recently signed in Vancouver. Did that influence? And, Demko said he wanted to be a Vancouver Canuck, wants to retire a Vancouver Canuck. And while he's sad to see Quinn go, it had no bearing on his decision. Garland, somewhat similar in his response, but
although a little more and understandably attached to Quinn and sad about that.
Besser had that question posed to him, and Besser was, I never wanted to leave Vancouver. Of the responses, the Besser response occurred to me to be more of the, this is my team, followed by Demko, and then Garland. I mean, again, the answer we're getting is not the full answer, because obviously the Vancouver Canucks as an organization trains their players really well to provide as best of a non-answer as they possibly can. But we did get some somewhat raw emotion. We also heard from William about coming to Vancouver. He seemed to be pretty excited. Reports on this kid is he knows nothing other than I'm awesome. Garland was telling a story about how this kid was talking to him and how he's, I've never lost a game. I've got 5 goals, and here I think Garland described him as this 15-year-old kid telling me, how calm and confident he happened to be. I like that. I kind of, it's I like the swagger. I hope the kid can back it up.
Yeah.
Yes, he scored a goal tonight off of someone's bium. But
oh no. You had to get that.
Doesn't matter. I did.
But I will say,
the Snake swagger.
Yeah, I will say this is maybe me being really dumb, but I never realized he was American, and that quote has slightly less charm when it comes from an American than a European. Yeah, I mean that's just me being ignorant of people having different names, I guess. But yeah. And have you seen the story or the photo doing the rounds of him being Rick Tockett's kid?
No, I haven't seen that.
They do look eerily similar, like when Rick Tocchet was a young player.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's not C4 if we're not trying to introduce, unsubstantiated rumors in the local hockey market. Canucks actually got a win this morning. I mean, that's how weird the schedule is when they go out east. So they had it was a 9:30 a.m. puck drop. I missed the first period. Most of the second, I was out coaching my daughter's soccer game. Watched the replay of the two early Canucks goals. And read a quick synopsis. It sounds like Vancouver played relatively good hockey
in the first two periods
area.
Yeah, in the first two periods
was all New Jersey.
It was like, I mean, third period was boredom followed by hanging on for dear life for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
Demko looked real good. Dare I say he looked like Bubble Demko, which has me worried that
to him.
It has me worried that he can back on the IR relatively soon. Speaking of the IR, Petey, he's on it. They had to move some players around to get Rossi, who was on the IR when he got traded here, to be able to dress, which he dressed tonight. So Petey went to the IR. So his upper body injury is more substantial than they were, trying to tell us. But I could always trust the Vancouver Canucks PR department. They tell no lies. It's the post Quinn Hughes era. And, as much as I poked fun on socials, like, oh, who would have known that Quinn Hughes is the reason that the Vancouver Canucks weren't winning? I'm kind of feeling this is just that dead cat bounce. It's,
I mean, it's barely that, because, Canucks were within a breath of giving up that game. So
just because you don't have control of the puck or struggling getting out of your own end and generated maybe one opportunity in the third period doesn't mean you're a bad team.
I will say it is kind of cruel for Canucks fans that they had to hear Hughes on the puck just 100 times during the broadcast.
Yeah, number 43, Hughes, scored the goal too, right?
I know, and it could have been worse. There could have been two of them, but yeah, it was kind of brutal hearing that. It's almost subconscious at this point.
Minnesota Wild spent no time getting Quinn Hughes out on their socials. They actually have like an ongoing series that sort of shows behind the scenes content, and they had a social video of Quinn getting off what looked to have been a private jet sent to pick him up. And then they sort of interviewed him on the car ride to wherever and asked him if he, brought himself a winter jacket. And he responded, I did, but it's probably not the type I need for here.
Yeah, it's something like -20 there, and just I cannot. Like, Godspeed Quinn Hughes in that.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, it's Minnesota. It gets cold. So other things that came out about the trade, sounds like Washington was seriously considering. New Jersey really wanted to, but wasn't able to get the pieces that the Vancouver Canucks wanted. Not so much that Jersey didn't have them, but their cap situation prevented them from maybe bringing in another dance partner to make it happen. A few other teams knocked on the doors. The Rangers apparently did, whether or not there was any seriousness to it. But I think what the kicker was when Bill Guerin was asked about it. One, he was cooking meatballs when Jim Rutherford, who apparently consummated the deal because Patrick Allvin's just too busy of a guy to do it. Jim called Guerin while he was making meatballs. Apparently, that was Guerin's initial offer to the Canucks. And Jim said, good enough for me.
Where have you had that before?
In what world does the first offer mean Yes. Like I'm not suggesting it wasn't a great offer, and I'm not suggesting it wasn't the best offer. But when it comes out that that was the initial offer, could they have not like pulled a little more? Like, to me, that feels like they left something on the table. Was there a second round or a third round pick that, you know, could have just been a little, you know, a little bit more? I'm going to describe the only experience I have recently in negotiating. But when we sold our condo, we had an ask price and we were offered our asking price. I was
That's
like,
unusual.
okay, one, that's very unusual. Two, it leads me to believe that if they want it for the asking price, they want it for a little bit more. We got $5,000 more out of that deal. Now, did I accept the initial offer, which is for what we wanted? No. I said needs to be a little sweeter. Now, could it have been sweetened even beyond that? Maybe. But I got $5,000 out of it. I'm sure they could have gotten $5,000 out of Minnesota.
I mean, yeah. And like, I'm so over the Honest Gem thing, and like we've heard of Canucks being milked before, so it is frustrating, but there's just so much more in depth to the frustration over Quinn Hughes, the like not getting an extra like second or third round or fourth round pick like out of it. It's just so far down the list of things they messed up about this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I
anywho,
can't say I'm that mad.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about this in half full, half empty, and what it means for the Vancouver Canucks. But we would be remiss if we didn't continue to talk about the fact that the Vancouver Canucks still must move forward in what is now going to be known as the post-Quinn Hughes era. They are going to remain on the road throughout to the holidays, with a game on Tuesday in New York against the Rangers. Then they head to Long Island for a game against the Islanders on Friday, followed by a back-to-back, a game in Boston on Saturday. And then, I'll talk about it just because you're here. You won't be here with me next week. They play the Flyers next Monday, and then they come home for the holiday break. So, looking ahead at those 4 games in a post-Quinn Hughes world, how confident or lack thereof of confidence are you?
Well, can we just say, like, in a post-Quinn Hughes world, Canucks have emotional baggage week? Because they're playing JT Miller, they're playing Bo Horvat, playing
Bo
that
might not be in the game on Friday.
He's
picked up a knock.
Oh, there we go. Like, small mercies, I guess.
Week.
And then Greg Tocchet, like, with Bruins in there too. It's just like a lot.
Over?
No, I think they beat New York.
Which one?
Sorry, Rangers.
Okay.
I think it still counts as New York, I guess. It's just over there on the island. Yeah.
Okay. I genuinely think it's over.
Okay, fair.
I'm not sure that this team has the emotional maturity to get past what has now transpired. I genuinely feel they'll likely go through the motions.
With that. It's just when they explode, it implode, right? It's just they clearly didn't implode tonight, even though that last period wasn't great. I don't think that was them imploding, because we've seen that a few times before, even with Quinn Hughes on the ice. Yeah, I think at some point it just dies a death. It's just when that happens, if it's after game in New York or before.
The other team that we cover, the Vancouver Golden Knights, they'll be back in action. They've got a couple of games this week themselves. On Tuesday, they'll be taking on the Ottawa Charge at the Pacific Coliseum. And then on Saturday, they've got an afternoon game against the Montreal Victoire. Looking at those 2 games, any thoughts as to who comes out ahead?
Well, Ottawa Charge still a really strong team. You really wish they were able to play these games off the back of their win against the Sirens, but if Serenus is back, then I think they beat Ottawa, but they're going to lose to Montreal. I mean, Montreal is a classic regular season team, but
Yeah, I'm qualifying mine. I actually was going to give them 2 wins on the back of her return to Sarah Nurse. She, by reports, is back on the ice practicing with the team. It's still not been discussed as to whether or not she returns. If Sarah Nurse does not return, I'll give them a win over the Charge. Similar vein as to how they lost to the Sirens and then beat them. I see them doing the same. And there's that sort of home ice bump. I think it was very apparent that the Golden Knights feed off the vibes at
Big
home.
time.
So I'm going to asterisk it. Nurse in the lineup, 2 wins. No Nurse, 1 win. Anyhow.
Yeah. Okay, fair. I like that more positive take. I think I'm such a Marie-Philippe Poulin stan. We'll see if she shows up.
Anyhow, you and I are going to take a quick break. You're listening to the C4 Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Anna, Chris, Craig, and today, Jark.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on that.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? And that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
So, Jark is the European version of Craig. And because Anna's gone home, I have both bots recording just in case.
Yeah, I was going to say, we probably need to explain who Jark is real quick. And yes, It is just Craig backwards.
It is, which I think is a neat play on names by the developer of this bot. But here we are in Half Full, Half Empty, and we're going to sort of dive in further over, where do the Vancouver Canucks go from here? A little more narrative around the Quinn Hughes deal. What does it mean for the Vancouver Canucks? And, I think we've talked a lot about it to this point. But what was very clearly shared in the official team announcement of the thank you, Quinn, welcome Marco, Ziev, and I can't remember Ogren's first name now. But I'll eventually Liam. Okay, I'll figure it out. They use the word rebuild. Officially, in team vernacular, the word rebuild exists. So, Anna, do you believe them that they are in a rebuild? Which Jim suggests they've been in for a season and a half. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Yeah, despite the fact that, 10 days ago, whenever he last spoke, he said, yeah, we're not doing that. I hope I do. It's one of those strange things. I kind of said this to my mum, where we've been begging for a rebuild, but now that they say we're officially in a rebuild, I'm kind of sad. Not sad in a optimistic way, because if they're really commit to the rebuild, then there is light at the end of the tunnel. Tunnels are still bad though, and dark and scary. It's hard to say, because it's it took them this long to say it, then surely if they're willing to admit it, they've got to do something about it.
Yeah, I'm sad, and when I saw that, and again, I'm sad with the fact that this likely means a rebuild, or I hope so. I'm going to hedge my words there because there's something else I want to add to that. But it goes to remind me how much more despondent I am that they're finally doing it when it should have been done long ago. I am, and I've made it very clear, if you follow me on social media, and I've sort of discussed it on this podcast, I have been very clear that I felt that this team needed to be torn down to its studs. I've said, sell it all, everything's for sale, everything must go. And the only qualifiers I said, but not Quinn, because I thought Quinn would stay. I thought was Operation Save Quinn. We're going to keep Quinn. But then when it became clear that Quinn wanted to go, it was sell it all, blow it all up, because you have nothing here to, necessarily build around in the same sense. I hope that happens, but I don't trust that they will. I have seen false starts in the quote unquote rebuild era before, where first round picks have been acquired by the team only to be used to find a jag or a spare part or a 3/4 bald tire, only to see them get competitive again. And that's what worries me the most. I have, in this podcast era, like, this is the longest running Canucks podcast and Golden Eyes podcast, because we laid claim to it, but in the context of what we're talking about Canucks, the team has sucked the vast majority of the time that I have been recording this. And I look back, and I've lived through many dark era as a Canucks fan. I'm done. Like, I just, if it's going to suck, fine. Just suck for the right reasons.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I couldn't help but think when you said rip it down to the studs that Carson Soucy and Eric Branson don't play here anymore.
Okay. Wrong studs, Anna.
Oh,
wrong studs.
Okay. That's a shame. But yeah.
You understand what I'm saying, though. Like, how many times has this organization slapped on a fresh coat of paint and updated the crown molding around the house, only in a few particular rooms, while the rest of it is you're dealing with, like, mold and a foundation that is cracked.
I mean, literally,
a building that's not built to code.
I mean, that is also quite literally true in the fact that they replaced the seats, and then the rest of the Rogers Arena is still how it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not like the Saddle Dome leaking like every time it rains, but like kind of close. Yes, on the one hand, I agree with you that unless we're going to do it properly, like, there's no point to it. But at the same time, like, we've said, the best time to start a rebuild was 10 years ago, but the second best time is now. And like, so we have to, I think part of the rebuild is us as fans committing to it, right? Like, we don't have to buy tickets. I'm committed to it. But yeah, we still have to, yeah.
I've spoken to a good number of people, and no word of a lie, when we're talking about, oh yeah, this team needs to rebuild, and I'll raise the point that, well, one of the reasons that has not occurred is this team is still one of the few teams in the NHL that is tied to gate revenue, and is worried that it can't afford to rebuild. And a good majority of these people will be like, well, I'm not going to go and watch a crap team. Well, okay. You do realize you've been paying good money to watch a crap team to this point.
I know. I mean, like you say, like I mean, my brother, who doesn't like watch hockey, but he kind of said, aren't you supposed to rebuild after you were good? You were good for a while and you're good no longer, so you rebuild. And it's like, yeah, I mean, we were good, but that was 13 years ago, 14 years ago. Like, you can argue 2012 was too soon, sure, but like, by the time we're at 2015 kind of time,
well,
that's
but the thing about after losing in was 2013 when they didn't make the playoffs, and Gillis went to essentially ownership and said, I've got a deal on the table for Kessler, I got a deal on the table for Burrows.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a quick sort of pivot,
retool. Yes.
A retool. To me, that's a retool. There's going to be some pain, but you're going to rearm your team to then have a new window. Instead, what we got was a front office that felt that the window did not need to close. Why close it? It's still open. And did not realize that once the window closes, you can't open it again. You need to put in a new window, save for the bubble.
How many times are we going to use housing metaphors?
Whatever. Yeah, save whatever, those 2 times that occurred. And I'm discounting the Willie Desjardins bounce. Like, that season was nuts.
Yeah, and but that's the thing. Like, I can see the case, but yeah, the retool in 2013, like you say, And if they turn that down, you've got to say in post Willie Desjardins time, okay, like, no, it's really done now. But they didn't.
Yeah. So I think I've shared before, I'm in Wyatt's Discord server, despite the feud and everything Wyatt knows that he's done wrong. But Wyatt said today in his Discord, it's really nice that Judd Brackett is still trying to help rebuild the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another painful point, isn't it? Given that, the Minnesota Wild pieces were Judd Brackett picks.
Ben,
Yeah.
I'm not going to suggest that the Vancouver Canucks are a far better team if Judd Brackett's still in Vancouver, but I'm imagining things would be a lot different if Judd Brackett was still in Vancouver. It was such a shame that the ego of the front office got in the way of the ego in the
But I mean, point to
draft
so
room.
many times in Canucks history. That's Trevor Linden walking out the door as well. Yeah.
Anyhow, so Jim has accepted that there's going to be a rebuild. Gary Mason wrote in his article, and if you don't know who Gary Mason is, he was actually formerly the sports editor for the Vancouver Sun. He writes for the Globe now, which is a national newspaper, but often seen as a Toronto newspaper. And a lot of people what does this Gary Mason guy know about the Canucks? He knows enough that if he speaks, one, it's likely ownership or someone close to ownership that's the conduit. He's got those connections. But Gary Mason had written that, Rutherford, he's old, but, he wants to see this through. And there's some belief that Jim Rutherford is rebuilding the team out of spite to show all the people who says he's too old to do it that he still can. Which honestly, if that's the reason that the Vancouver Canucks actually rebuild, you go, Trader Jim, you go.
Yeah, like really. I love spite as a motivator, honestly. I am here for spite. Yeah. It's one of those things that I'm like, I honestly don't care anymore. If you're gonna commit to it, then it doesn't matter what pathetic motivators you have.
Yeah.
Like if the Aquilinis were finally too embarrassed about having a captain that so clearly doesn't want to be there, if that's your motivator, sure.
Or was it actually, speaking of motivators, we got a jersey on the ice against the Sabres.
Oh, yeah.
And historically, jerseys on the ice precipitate change almost immediately. Maybe that's why the deal happened. The jersey hit the ice.
Nagging works, it turns out. No, I will say my mom wanted me to share with everyone that she saw on her For You page someone burning a Canucks jersey, which I assume happened post Quinn trade rather than pre. But she was kind of surprised. She doesn't usually get any hockey content at all.
Oh, well, if it's showing up on our For You page now, and considering you're home for a bit, she's going to see a whole lot more. So going back to that earlier question, how confident are you that the Canucks are actually going to follow through on an effort to rebuild? I'm not going to say they're going to fully rebuild. A lot can happen, but they'll make a honest to goodness effort to rebuild. How confident?
Yeah. Like a percentage?
Yeah, ballpark it here.
I'm more confident than not.
Okay.
But
I'm jaded. I'm not confident at all.
Yeah, okay. I'm more confident than not, but it's not a strong one, like in the 50s.
Yeah, okay. That's still better than me. And I again, my lack of confidence is that first round pick that they currently have from the Minnesota Wild would be attractive to a lot of other teams.
in Patrick's pocket, yeah.
Right. And I could see them looking to dish that. I would rather them not. I would rather them get more. I want to be that team that has so many picks in 2026 and 2027 that you have too many players that you have to make room for. I just worry that they'll go find, the next Kane to offload off a team who needs help. I still do not understand that deal. We did the Oilers a bloody solid in taking a contract off their books, and we got diddly for it. Ugh.
Yeah. I will say, like, it just makes me think of the sort of Carl Dubas era in Toronto when I just remember, that graphic that would go around about the number of picks Toronto had accumulated in one draft, especially in the early rounds. And, like, you can't say that Toronto didn't do a good job bringing in young players and building a strong team. Of course, they fall apart every year in the playoffs, and they've chased Mitch Marner out of town, but I don't think that's necessarily like anti rebuild. Sorry, it's more they didn't strip everything down, but that accumulation of picks, that should be the dream.
I want that to be the problem. I'd be so happy if that was the problem, especially after the, number of seasons we've had where the Vancouver Canucks have one early round pick, and I say early round because it could be anywhere from the first to the third, and then we'd have to sit around until like the fifth or sixth if we were lucky. I also have the belief that until such times I start to see other deals drop, I feel that the Vancouver Canucks have to sell Kiefer Sherwood to the highest bidder. Like, I'm still on this point. If there was an offer on the table that the Vancouver Canucks could have got a first round pick, and on top of that, got themselves a chance to get a prospect out of a Kiefer Sherwood, that deal needs to happen. Connor Garland, if there was an opportunity for someone to take him, I like what Connor brings to this team, but there's someone who
that's exactly why we're shipping them out.
Yeah, right. Like, that's what
if
I want to see more.
They have no value. Yeah.
Is if the Canucks start making deals like that, then I will believe that they are actually considering a tear it down to the studs rebuild. And I, know they can't completely do that. There's a number of no movement clauses in play. There's people who are like, oh, trade Petey was the worst choice to keep him. There are teams out there that would take him off the Vancouver Canucks' hands, but at what value?
Yeah, I don't think we're getting
what he provides to the team.
Any good value out of Petey right now.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know this for certainty, but I've actually spoken to a few people who have run into him and met him over the past sort of year, who have spoken very highly about his approach to fans, approach to the market. I genuinely wonder if what we see of Petey, because it's sort of through the lens of the media, and I don't think I'm fooling anyone if I were to suggest that he's not a big fan of that experience, if we then use that to influence what his perception of the market and the fan base happens to be. And one thing is very clear to me is that you need to understand what it is like to play in Vancouver. And if you're good with that, that's the type of player who can foster. On the other side of the spectrum, tank commander, Tyler Myers, if there's anyone who should be shown stripes and have a C slapped on his chest, it's him. But Tyler Myers understands this market. As much as we go and, we slag him for being the chaos giraffe, the guy gets it. He's well-spoken and he's well-respected. And I kind of feel like that's the type of player you need to help that Vancouver culture be reestablished. Oh, and if you didn't hear the press conference, Patrick Allvin was asked by House Radio if the Canucks have bad culture. And I don't think Patrick Allvin understood the premise of the question until he asked for clarification. And if you watch his face when Broth goes and starts, leaving specific reasons as to why the culture in Vancouver potentially is a problem, Vancouver has a culture problem.
I mean, it's been a mess for a long time. The Myers thing, I'm in two minds about that because on the one hand, yes, it's good for someone who cares about this team, this province, the city, and is a sort of strong personality, good leader, sure. I do wonder what he represents, and it's certainly not the future of the Vancouver Canucks. He's not going to be around when it's good again.
No, but that's the thing. Like, if you throw a C on Tyler Myers, he's your bridge captain, right?
For sure.
That's all I'm looking at is if you have to throw a C on someone, it's him.
I just, I think just my slight concern is optically, we've been talking about stop putting Band-Aids on things that need to be torn down. Tyler Myers is a Band-Aid for the culture, no?
Well, it is. But
I say no captain,
Well, I'm a no captain guy. Let's be honest. I am a no captain guy.
They don't deserve a captain.
If you have to slap a C on a jersey because for reasons, Tyler Myers is my top pick.
Yeah. Okay.
He's the guy who's going to wear it until at such time as the team is rebuilt and a new captain has, risen from what, I don't know. The house didn't burn down, so it's not ashes, but has arisen from the basement.
I think for two people that don't really know anything about construction, we've made a lot of bad house metaphors today.
That's what makes us the best mediocre podcast out there. Anyhow, you won't be back next week because
I won't.
Apparently,
sadly,
being at home visiting family and friends and having good holiday cheer is just too much to hang out with me for an hour on a show. So it might just be me next week. I don't know.
It's something like that. Yeah, TBC as to whether Chris is shouting into the void or not.
I mean, often I am.
Yeah.
You're just kind enough to accommodate me doing so. But yeah, schedule wise, we'll have an episode next week. It'll be me and maybe someone, but it'll be me for certain. We then will be off until the new year. Our next episode after next week won't be until the first full week of January, which means lots will happen with the world of the Vancouver Canucks. Something will happen in the world of the Vancouver Golden Knights, as they also have a bunch of games that we'll be looking to recap. So it's going to be some big episodes going into January. Anna and I are also still exploring the opportunity to get more Golden Knights specific voices on the show. We are fortunate that Lachlan Irvin joined us last week. Lachlan will probably rejoin us again as the season progresses, but we're also trying to find a few additional voices just to give us that, additional context that both myself and Anna have declared we lack. You're a season ticket holder, you're going to games. I'm watching from afar, but the experience in the PWHL is still a little bit new to both of us. So it makes sense to have those who might be a little bit closer to the action here. We also will obviously continue to look to get other people on board, some who have a view of the Vancouver Canucks, and maybe some other voices just with a view on all the different topics that we're not too scared to touch on or talk about. But Anna, do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners this week?
Just that I had proper bacon this morning and it was just so good.
That's not okay. What you call bacon is not bacon, no matter how many times you tell me it's proper.
Bacon and brown sauce sandwich.
What's brown sauce?
It's HP sauce.
Okay, I was going to say
HP is just a brand name for brown sauce. I will say that
brown sauce here. We call it HP.
I introduced my brother and sister-in-law to salt and vinegar crispers, and their minds were blown. So sharing cultures here.
So this is what actually shocks me is that the few times I've gone to the UK, seeing the variety of flavors of crisps, it's
we do.
Oh my goodness,
it's really good.
I thought Canada was experimental in flavors. No, we don't even hold a candle to what y'all do in the old country. We here blow the minds of Americans. You blew the mind of a Canadian. So the fact that salt and vinegar crispers are blowing their mind does not translate to me. How is that not a thing already?
So there is, but I don't think they're as good. They have Jacobs, salt and vinegar Jacobs, but they're just not as good. They're not as strong. I like it when the vinegar is making you kind of wince.
Yeah, that's good vinegar. What are your thoughts on All Dressed?
Oh, I love them. I was explaining All Dressed yesterday. I said it's like prawn cocktail, but just slightly better in ways I cannot discern.
I could not tell you what prawn cocktail is like because you lost me on the prawn. Final words of wisdom for me. Oh no, I know, but still, the point is, don't like. Final words of wisdom for me. There are two types of people in this world: those who like eggnog and those who hate nice things.
That might be me. Unless it has rum in it, then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
if
give
it has
you a
rum,
pass
I'll try it.
because you've qualified that there is a way to make eggnog more palatable to you, as there are many people who hate nice things that'll say eggnog is wrong. Eggnog is life. I've not had much eggnog this holiday season. Curtain back, I haven't had a lot of eggnog in the last few years because caloric intake of eggnog is problematic. I would prefer a full meal than a small glass of eggnog, but I love eggnog. Eggnog is life. So yeah, There are those who like eggnog and those who don't like nice things. If you've reached this point of the show and you are wanting to support us, you can do so by going to buymeacoffee.com/C4podcast. Buy Me a Coffee, otherwise known as
Buy me a pint.
And you can throw a few bucks our way to buy us a pint if and when Anna and I get together. We did get together at a, Golden Eyes game. No pints were had by the two of us together. I did not have any. I think you had one, maybe more. But the point is, at some point, we'll get together. If you do want to support us more on a recurring basis, you can do so either on a monthly or annual basis. It gets you our entire back catalog of the C4 Off the Rails episodes. And at some point in the new year, we'll get you the new ones. I have some time literally blocked in my calendar to do two things this holiday season. Christmas shop, produce back catalog of C4 OTR. So I'll have a few episodes out. You'll have to put up with us talking about stuff that occurred in the summer because that's how long they've been sitting there in the can. But mea culpa on that, please, because we had some issues with hosting and all of that jazz that were completely unexpected. And what little time I had to make things work out was spent on that. If you want to see our back catalog of episodes, we're in all the podcast applications for the most part, but you can go to c4podcast.com. It's going to give you access to all the episodes. All of the guests that have joined us over the last few years, they each have a little profile page. So if you're like a big fan of Lachlan Irvin, click on his name. It shows you specifically what episodes he's been part of. And if you want to find us on all the social media platforms, we are at the C4 Podcast on the X. We are at the Real C4 Podcast on Threads, and we are at c4podcast.com on Blue Sky. Anna is A4Sizer3 everywhere, and I am Lightforce. So on behalf of Anna, myself, Craig, and Jark, we out.